chatting about chatting. So really, these students are doing exactly what we're doing. Teens ended almost all almost all text message conversations by switching to another style of communication via face-to-face or voice chatting. They never just stopped text messaging out of the blue. It was always going to another medium. So 80% of those surveyed used the internet to maintain existing friendship networks. The ones that participated with friends on the internet felt closer. And this is why we need to become involved in, we're here for students, and we want students to feel close to us. I mean, in residence life, as an RA or as a hall director, you want your students to be able to come to you. And students who felt online communication was more effective for self-disclosure, we're closer with their friends, and they'll be closer with their hall directors and with their RAs. So these are things we need to think about, is communicating online to maintain those friendships. Now, one of the questions that my wife brought up when I was practicing incessantly last night, she said, well, what about kids who talk to strangers? Now, the interesting thing about that is this study showed that children typically don't talk to strangers. Almost something like 95% of the people that kids talk to online are people they have met in the real world first. They use it to maintain relationships, not to create them. I mean, strictly. They will never friend somebody on Facebook. They won't friend them on MySpace. They won't add their Twitter until they've met them in real life. So this is something that they've met them in school or any of these kind of environments. So it was something the study talked about. So one of the other things they talked about was the effects of banning these technologies, because the knee-jerk reaction is, well, I don't understand it, so we're just not going to do it. Well, when they banned some social networking sites, and some of the students as well as staff members, they felt that the internet was unduly restricted. 117 of the 120 surveyed said that. Some staff and students admitted they used techniques to get around the filter or blocks. Think about that, WAN guys. Many respondents felt the filtering system hampered their performance of their duties, created an inconvenience, reduced student autonomy, lowered morale, and made it less likely they would create lessons that would integrate technology. Of course, we want to go the opposite way. So, what's coming? This is the crazy stuff to blow your mind. Video and photo geotagged blogging. I can tell you right now that one of my friends just bought a dog collar that takes photos. And you can set the interval. Every 15 minutes to half an hour, it takes a photo. Now, probably what those photos consist of are the dog bed and drool. But there was actually a jewelry maker slash techie about a year ago who created a necklace because he said, gosh, I'm so forgetful. And he made himself a micro camera necklace that has a camera built into a little pendant. So everywhere he walked around, it would take a picture every 30 seconds or, every minute of who he was talking to. So he could then go back and recall his conversations. Now, so that exists. This is there. What if we tie in GPS with that? Think about geotagging photos as kids walk around campus. And think about students that might be wearing something like this in the future that would be geotagging photos as they go around campus, and think, how is that going to add into Google Earth? When suddenly there are hundreds of photos that are tagged everywhere. I mean, you can know what something looked like at any time of the day. Google actually, in the newest version of Google Earth, they have a time that you can actually change the time that you look at a particular area.
So when you go to the locker room,
yeah.
it's not even worried about cell phones now. It could be anywhere. That's great.
Well, I will admit. But now, in the other thing to think about is, Currently, GPS technology is limited. You can't get it in a building. So, they couldn't tag it as being in the gym. I don't know if that gives you any solace. I'm sorry. Okay, you want to get really wild and crazy and talk about, paranoia. Google Latitude. Google Latitude, I'm not the paranoid type, but Google Latitude is something that can run on the new mobile phones. Runs on Windows Mobile, runs on the iPhone, and of course runs on Google's Android phones. Google Latitude is a program that Google has designed. Everybody's familiar with instant messaging, right? You got a friends list. You can say, hey, what you doing? Where you at? Well, before we would never ask where someone was at because they were at home at the internet, of course. Now we ask where someone's at. In comes Google Latitude. If you have Google Latitude running on your phone and your friends have Google Latitude running on their phone, I can look and say, oh, my buddy Brent, he's in his office because his GPS is telling me exactly where he's at. Or he knows that I'm late to lunch because I'm actually down the street. I'm not at Pazos or at, Student Center yet, or, so, we can go, this is something to think about, People elect to tell these things. People are concerned about privacy, but this is not something that anyone can do. You have to elect to do it. So, some other things to think about. Geotag photosynth. We saw the photosynth and how a three-dimensional rendering can be created out of two-dimensional images. Let's take that to the next level. Think about that in Google Earth. Instead of having to model a tree, if there were simply enough pictures of a tree outside of Student Center, that tree could get modeled automatically through pictures. They would never have to go into a modeling program like my daughter did to build a building. There would simply just have to be enough pictures of the building to model itself. So that's something to kind of think about. A lot of people see augmented reality and think, ooh, that sounds futuristic. Augmented reality is already here. Augmented reality is taking something like a cell phone. Google has a program that's out. I'm not familiar what the official name is, but one of the beta names was Incan. And you could take your phone. Fortunately, I have an old cell phone at home also. You could take your phone and you could start up Incan, and it would say, okay, I'm starting the camera. And while it starts the camera, it also starts the compass and the GPS. So your compass tells you what direction you're facing. The GPS tells where you're at, on the earth. So now Google can say, I know where you're looking and I know where you're at. And then it will overlay Google Earth information into the camera of your phone. So suddenly your camera doesn't just have a picture of the door. Let's imagine we're outside. It would have a picture that would show an arrow to, I want to get to the hospital. Click, and it will show the hospital over there in the distance with an arrow down to it. And walking directions to how to get there, because I'm walking, I'm not driving. So these are things that are coming, ways to sort of interface with the world that we're just not used to. So that's something to think about as far as augmented reality. Live webcam streaming on YouTube. This is already coming. You can actually already, this is in beta in YouTube. If you have a YouTube account, you can watch people watch your video. If they have this part of YouTube also, and they're watching your video, it can fire up their webcam so that while they're watching your video, you can watch them. Creepy, just a little, but this is going to be big. You watch Google and YouTube will be the next big webcam site. Guaranteed, it'll be the next big meetup place. So take that however you want. So what's UK doing? What are we doing to prepare for this information onslaught? SharePoint, which we've already looked at a little bit. It is sort of a tiered, it's a content management system, which means I have access to sharepoint.uky.edu/studentaffairs. I can then create /reslife and Kerwin Tower /